This Saturday marks 46 days since our last UFC pay-per-view, but the wait will finally be over as we've got two iconic light heavyweights battling it out for the second time. I cannot wait for it, and I bet you can't either. Hello everybody and welcome to Against the Fence, where this is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC, and this is your UFC 320 breakdown show where we'll be going over the main card. We don't just tell you what to think, we show you how to think on this show, especially if you guys are prone bettors. We help you guys out. I mean, look, betting's not for everybody, but you know, we can provide some kind of service for you guys and help you guys out. So yeah, stay tuned. We'll be breaking down every fight on the main card. We'll talk about who has the upper hand in the striking, grappling, speed, power, and cardio, as well as some other interesting factors as well. We'll go through a couple of stats as well. So make sure you've got the like button pressed on the video. It costs absolutely nothing. And hit that subscribe button as well, because we're a UFC fan channel where fan opinions matter most, and every little helps to keep us chiming and keep us rolling and keep us going on. So welcome on in, help us out. Yeah, so to kick things off then, I guess I want to talk about the overall main card. On socials, we put out a tweet the other day asking guys for their rating out of 10 for this main card. And for me, I gave it a solid 8. Solid 8. You know, I was thinking, is it any less than an 8? Is it just a little bit more? You know, I'd usually go for the points when every time a pay-per-view comes around. But yeah, looking at it, there's some fun fights I'm really interested to see from the get-go, really. And can't wait to go through them. George Murray in the house says, yes, JK, what's good is good, brother? Wait, what's good, bro? Where are you today? Are you on your way home? Are you at home? Good to see you chiming in, as always, George Murray. Good to see you chiming in. Can't wait for your thoughts and opinions on this main card. If you had to pick what your fight of the night would be, what would it be? Because if we go on to this scene here, and we bring up the card, I don't know what are you guys, man. There's some tough contenders for fight of the night already, and the one that sticks out the most for me is probably Merab Dvalishvili against Cory Sandhagen. I could say that it's the fight I'm most looking forward to. Of course, I'm a bit of a Cory fan. I kind of want to see him get the belt. I think that'll be an absolute shock if he does. Merab's an absolute machine, so his nickname for a reason. So let's see how well he does. George Murray says Pyfer versus Magomedov. Yeah, mate, to kick things off with that fight is a barn burner. Like, either of these guys are capable of making the top 10 of the rankings, in my opinion. This one here. So open it up for some stats for y'all to have a look. We'll start off by talking about Magomedov, because like Pyfer, he has like all the makings of being a top ranked middleweight. He was able to survive Michel Pereira's power strikes in that last fight. It is a matter of just surviving the first round against Pyfer, in my opinion. Or, you know, do you guys think that it's the whole fight? Because is Pyfer more of a threat from the start to finish? Because he did kind of tail off. He cracked Kelvin Gastelum in his last fight in that first round. It felt like he could have got Kelvin out of there, even though Kelvin's never been finished before in the UFC and in MMA period. So, and he kind of took it easy as the fight progressed. And I feel like, is Abus somebody who can kind of go full throttle at him for 3 rounds straight? Whereas Kelvin Gastelum, yes, he's got that cardio machine, but was the output really there in that last fight? It wasn't, in my opinion. You know, Ash called Pyfer the middleweight Josh Emmett. Emmett usually loses to fighters who are more technical than he is, but Do you guys think that Abus can outpoint Pyfer perhaps in this fight? Because I can kind of see it when I'm doing tape. But, I think you could easily say that Pyfer gets it done via knockout, or Abus perhaps takes a decision. I think, of course, the knockout threat is always going to be there from Pyfer. And maybe perhaps Abus will be a little bit standoffish. George Merry says, I'm at home tonight, JK. Took day off, been flat out for 3 weeks, needed to give my body a rest. Currently doing the washing up. Well, clearly not giving yourself a rest, are you? But you're doing chores. But yeah, I think I've seen you've been busy, my man. I'm glad you're taking an easy rest in the body whenever you can. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think Pyfer's going to get the knockout, or can Abus steal a decision in this one? Let's talk about Joe Pyfer then. He wasn't able to put Gastelum away in that last fight. He stayed measured and just didn't really rush for the finish because he didn't want to gas out. What can Pyfer add to his game, guys, which makes him ready for the next level of competition? Is he too one-dimensional? Because these guys who have knockout power, they seem to just kind of get to a certain level, and once they hit the top sort of 3/5, they struggle against those all-rounders. So can Pyfer really adapt his game and change his game a little bit that causes Pyfer and future opponents problems? I do feel like I want to see more wrestling from Pyfer. I think he has got it in him. Of course, the cardio factor is going to be a question mark there for him. He's got that Philadelphia grit that comes with training in Philly with the likes of Sean Brady. He's clearly been doing a lot of work with Dean Thomas lately as well. I'm kind of gutted. We need to touch bases with Dean at some point. Do you know what? If Ash would have known he was working late, then maybe I could have got Dean on the channel last minute, but I had to pull some things together, in the last few hours to make this show happen. So unfortunately, it's not the case. But maybe one day we'll chalk it up with Dean again, because it would have been great to kind of get his thoughts on where Joe Pyfer's going and what his ceiling is. What do you guys think Joe Pyfer's ceiling is? I hope it's quite high, man. He's fun to watch. It's just don't blink. It's reminiscent of Francis Ngannou in the heavyweight division. He's got that power at middleweight, and he's a future light heavyweight as well. He's a big guy for middleweight. I can definitely see him having a future at light heavy some time, but we'll see. I'll get to my overall prediction in just a sec. Oh, I missed the thing disappeared. Yeah, so there's a few stats. There's not really much, I don't think, to really shine upon, really. There's significant strikes is quite close between the two. It's actually in favour of Abus, which is quite surprising. Landed per minute, though, in favour of Joe Pyfer in the blue corner. If I go into the gauge, then let's talk about who has the upper hand in the striking, grappling, power, speed, and cardio. And we've got the fighters at the bottom there as well. Striking wise, I think it's safe to say that we can give striking to to Joe Pyfer, I think. But then Abus has got quite a bit of a well-rounded striking game, I feel. He leads with his kicks quite well, which sets up his punches. Whereas Pyfer, not as much of a kicker. He's more of a heavy headhunter who likes to rip to the body with the left hook at times. Landed some flush uppercuts against Kelvin Gastelum as well. So the boxing is in favour of Pyfer. But I think maybe well-rounded skill-wise, maybe I might edge it to Abus, Come at me, whatever you think. This is my opinion. Let me know yours in the chat section or in the comment section. Overall, striking-wise, I'm going with Abus. Moving on then to grappling, however, I think I'm going to actually side grappling to Pyfer. Let's have a look here. Do we have the grappling numbers? If I just bring this down quick. Not much there. Average takedowns in favour of Abus. Defense, however, in favour of Abus. That's quite surprising. But I think some of that might come from the fact that Pyfer fought a very experienced Jack Hermansson, whereas Abus's probably most experienced fighter that he's fought was Sean Strickland, who prefers to just steam forwards and just hit you with everything he can, and doesn't really use his wrestling as much. So I would edge Pyfer in grappling. I think we have seen him on the ground before occasionally. Let's see what George Murray says. He says, striking Joe, grappling Abus. He's gone the other way. Power Joe, speed Abus, cardio, definitely Joe, after Abus' performance against Strickland. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, cardio does favour. But, I mean, Strickland just melts everyone, and I think he'd even give Pyfer, I think, a tough time. So, yeah, I kind of like what you're saying there. But I would probably have to go power Pyfer. Speed, yeah, I like speed for Abus for sure. Those kicks are pretty quick. Cardio, yeah, I'd give cardio to Pyfer as well. Of edging it there for sure. Awesome stuff, guys, so far. I'm just going to quickly. Let's move. Can I move them around? Yeah, I can. Just to line up like that a little bit better. Yeah, everything's a little bit jumbled up today because Ash isn't here. Yeah, so that. Ooh, let's. I've lost my last one. It's that one, isn't it? There. So that's what I've got for this fight. Striking and speed in favour of Abus Magomedov. And grappling, power, and cardio for Joe Pyfer. But look, do I think that Joe Pyfer gets the one-shot knockout? I do, because Abus is susceptible of dropping his guard quite a bit. Joe Pyfer gets it done, TKO, at least round 1 or 2. I think my picks, I'd probably put round 1. He threw shots at Gastelum which would have knocked anybody out, and I think that if Pyfer lands those shots on Abus is going out for sure. So that's what I can see happening in this fight. Let's clear everything from there, and let's bring back the fight card then to talk about, going the wrong way, the second fight up between Josh Emmett and Youssef Zalal. Zalal, a bit of a new entry into the rankings, taking on a veteran in Josh Emmett. Let's start off by talking about Josh Emmett then, shall we? Now, he's got 2 wins in his last 5 fights, all against the division's elite. Off the top of my head, they were Lerone Murphy, Ilia Topuria. That's 2 of the losses I can think of. See, I need to work on my memory, for sure. At the age of 31, it's slowing down a little bit. So, and I'm constantly giving myself a lot of data throughout these weeks, leading up to fight cards. Actually, I do have a cheeky little spare page that I can use to cheat with. Josh Emmett lost to Yair Rodriguez. That was the 3rd one. Oh, nearly there. Not bad. My Moroccan brother by decision, says George Murray. I like that pick, George. I do like that pick. Yeah, so going back to Josh Emmett, though, does he have what it takes to keep up with the competition at the age of 40 years old? Because Zalal is a challenging target to tag. Like, he's so... You rewatch that Calvin Kattar fight, Kattar could not land anything on him. And he was just pot-shotting him the whole time and moving. Pot-shotting and moving. Coming in and out. He's so good with his distance management and his timing. It's going to be difficult to see Josh Emmett have success against him. It really is. I almost feel like the Emmett fight was almost a bit of a blueprint. It'd be like deja vu, I think, this weekend for for Zalal. I really do. Who is on a 7-fight win streak. 6 of those have been finishes. Yes, that last fight against Keita was a little bit lackluster. Was a bit of a pot shot and move type of fight. But look, 2 TKO wins, 4 submissions. A win against another well-known name makes him a future contender for sure. But he needs to make more noise. You know, I think this is probably his 2nd fight within the rankings. He's on a pay-per-view card, which is good. He's going to get more eyeballs on him. Some would say, you know, he ran away for Keita for 3 rounds. So he needs to do more. But what do you guys make of his previous performance against Keita? Because I did feel like, yeah, he needs to do far better than that. Does he need to go out there to make a statement in order to kind of make some kind of claim for future title contentions? Because I think we're in like a weird bit at the moment with the MMA community where everyone's demanding finishes. If you want to get a title shot, you need finishes. Look what the treatment Mozvailev's getting. He's decisioning people all the way through up the rankings. Doesn't really get a look in for a title shot. You had Magomed Ankalaev had to do all sorts to get a title fight. He was the number 2 guy and got passed up for Khalil Rountree. Eventually, the UFC had to give him the shot, though. So there's a huge demand for finishes. If Youssef Zalal just keeps decisioning guys, Arnold Allen was kind of about the same. I mean, okay, he's not reached title contention, but his slow rise through the rankings was because he kept winning by decision, and probably because he's British as well. You know, does Arnold Allen earn himself a title fight down the line? It's still possible, but that's another topic for another time. George says, winner gets Arnold Allen. Potentially. I don't know if it timing-wise marries up, because is Allen training right now? I feel like he might be. And fingers crossed he gets Rodriguez next. Every fighter higher than Calvin at the time would have chased him down and pinned him back to the cage and would make him pay. I mean, you're right. That's exactly what Josh Emmett needs to do. He needs to make it ugly in order to have any success in there. And he's got wrestling in his locker. Charge that down. Charge him. Might go funny for a second. Yeah, he needs to do more than that. His wrestling is usually counter wrestling style as Josh Emmett, but yeah, maybe he should resort to mixing in some wrestling in his offense. Let's talk about then let's bring that down and then bring up the gauge to talk about this one. And the fighters as well, that would help. Striking wise, I'm going to go with Zalal. Overall, I mean, it's going to be almost similar to the previous fight we just talked about. Really, I think Zalal will bring something similar to Magomedov. Josh Emmett, we can safely give him power all day. Grappling, however, Zalal's got some good jiu-jitsu, man. He's submitted some good guys. I think Jack Shaw's a tough guy to submit, and he went out there and did that. Looking at wrestling, brother. This is George Murray. Yeah. Let me just have a look at. I'm going to cheat here. How many submission wins do we see Josh Emmett have? I don't think he's got many at all. Yeah, he's got 2 wins by submission, but he's got a wrestling background. So you're gonna have to give grappling to Zalal. So unlike the last fight we just broken down, I think we're gonna have a bit of a change in the guard here. All Emmett besides grappling, says George Murray. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree. Speed wise, mate, Zalal's too quick. Zalal is too quick in my opinion. I mean, yeah, punching wise, Emmett can move for like the first 2 to 3 minutes of the fight. He's a lot quicker on the feet, but once things digress a little bit in towards the fight, he's a little bit more flat-footed. But yeah, part of that could be his approach, more of a counter style. He's going to be flat-footed in this one. Zalal's going to be dancing all around him, so I got to give him that. Cardio-wise, you could argue that Josh Emmett has been through the ringer. He's had some 5-round fights. What, was he just one? Might have been, which was Ilia Topuria. Actually went the distance against Topuria as well, which is quite surprising, right? You look at all the guys that Topuria's been finishing. Josh Emmett has been the only person he hasn't been. And that could be because Emmett has a power threat as well as wrestling. So the two of them are quite similar, really. But cardio-wise, all right, we'll give Emmett cardio for that reason then. So we're going power and cardio for Josh Emmett. We're going striking, grappling, and speed for Youssef Zalal. However, George Merry in the chat says Emmett gets all of them besides grappling. So it's whatever you think. Get yourself your opinions in the chats. Get in the comment section as well for catching this another day. Yeah, my overall prediction on the night. I would like to see Zalal pick up the submission win, but I'm leaning towards a decision at the moment. When was the last time Josh Emmett got... Was it Volk? Who finished Emmett last? Bring that down and let's bring that up. His Wikipedia page is stacked. Oh, he got submitted by Yair. He's only been knocked out once. Jeremy Stevens. That was early on. That was 2018, though. Yeah, Yair. Using to Yair right triangle is surprising. So for that reason, Zalal submission is a good bet. If you're a betting guy, check those odds. That's all I'm going to say. Check those odds. But personally, I'm going to stick with a decision, I think, on the night. Literally about to say the same, JK. Not many have gone the distance, if any, in the UFC with El Matador. Yeah, and I mean, that could be a piece of credit that Josh Emmett gets. And should be used more, really. I think they'll probably use it on the broadcast. I mean, you got to hype Emmett up, man. Especially at the age of 40, where he's a bit of on the decline. I don't think he keeps up with Zalal. I think he falls further down the pecking order, and he'll be lined up with another contender next. Unless he gets super emotional in the octagon and decides to retire, which I could very well see. But yeah. Mr. Easton in the house says, very interesting you have picked Pyfer on the point of landing that power shot and picked Youssef and counted out Emmett's power. Well, it's simple as that. Zalal, you can't hit him. His defense is too good. Check back at that Kelvin Cater fight. The answers are there. Whereas, however, Abus gets hit. So there you go. There's the thinking behind it, brother. There's the thinking behind it. I mean, look, if Emmett goes out there and sparks him, I'll hold my hands up. But so far, I can't see it. Can't see it, I'm afraid. Ooh, let's bring this back up then. Let's go on to talking about then the third fight of the main card. Yep. Which is a anticipated light heavyweight showdown between two former title challengers. Yuri's had about 3 million title opportunities in the past. Khalil Rountree fell short in a close exchange with Alex Pereira on multiple occasions, but crumbled later on in their fight. Jiří got knocked out by Pereira twice. So there's a lot to be said heading into this fight. Can't wait to get your opinions on it. For Jiří, though, let's start by talking about him. He's so determined to get back into title contention. You know, he's doing all this Matrix stuff we're still seeing online. He's dead focused. If you listen to when he was on Joe Rogan's podcast, he sounded like he still can get back in there. And he looked like a different animal against Jamahal Hill in that last fight. He really did. But do you guys think that he needs Ankalaev to beat Pereira again in order to get a title shot? I think he does. He's desperate for it. He needs that to happen, because if he gets the win against Khalil Rountree this weekend and then Magomed Ankalaev beats Pereira, that's your next title fight. Pretty much is. Like, if we were to go on to... We'll go back and then we look at the light heavyweight rankings here. Jiří's in at number 2. He should be the next man in line. I know you've got Carlos Ulberg coming off a win. He did make a bit of a statement this past week. Other than that, that's about it. Unless Magomed Ankalaev comes out of that fight with Pereira battered, bruised, broken, out for a long time, Ramadan as well, whatever you want to add to it, fights in a year's time, then we're going to get Ulberg versus Procházka. That would be my prediction on this. George Murray reckons Ulberg is next. I mean, look, fresh competition in the top of the division. Jiří would have to take another fight against someone else, though. It'd be quite difficult to pair him up with anyone else. But no, I'll get you thinking. Oh, wrong one. Let's head on back then to the stats. Anything worthy of looking at in terms of significant strikes? Wow, landed per minute in favour of Jiří. I mean, his output was insane against Jamahal Hill. But the question is can Khalil counter effectively against him? Jiří leaves himself exposed from time to time. Jamahal Hill wasn't able to catch him, though, and Jamahal Hill is a very good counter striker. So I would guess that Jiří is favourite in this fight. Significant strikes in favour for Jiří. Absorb per minute. There you go. There's a big one there. 5.7. Better defense on Khalil's side. So these are all good factors to weigh in when it comes to talking about the striking advantage in this fight. Grappling, I don't really see much. Neither of them. Jiří's landed takedowns. I think he landed takedowns against an old. I was about to say retired then. An old sort of battered and bruised Glover Teixeira. That was probably where all those have come from. There's no odds. Oh, there's an odds section on here, but there's nothing filled in. That's strange. But let's talk about the gauge, shall we? Let's talk about the gauge between these two. Striking wise, who are we going to give it? Actually, I forgot to talk about Khalil Rountree for a second. How does Khalil Rountree deal with Jiří if Jiří gets into that flow state? Again, coming into this fight, because we saw it in the Jamahal Hill fight. He was dodging shots and countering like he was in the Matrix. How does Khalil Rountree deal with that? Personally, I think the inside low kick, the lead leg, is going to be key for Khalil Rountree in this fight. And he's a tactician. He's a very skilled technical fighter. We saw it in the Alex Pereira fight. It was very close for those first 2 rounds. So for that reason, I've got to side with Khalil Rountree on this. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Jiří Procházka could catch Khalil with something unpredictable. It's possible. But would you give power to Khalil Rountree, or would you give Jiří Procházka power? That's probably the toughest one to call in this list. Grappling wise, I'm gonna go with Jiří. Only just because we've seen him land takedowns. He might opt to it when fatigue settles in. I'm gutted this fight's not going to be 5 rounds. 5 rounds would be very intriguing. I think the pendulum would sway a bit more in Jiří's favour. Cardio-wise, I think I'm going to give that to Jiří. I do. Speed, however, power and speed go to, I think, Khalil Rountree. That's how I have it in this fight. For this fight, I'm going with grappling and cardio for Jiří Procházka. I'm going with striking, power, and speed for Khalil Rountree. Of course, the X factor being that unpredictable nature of Jiří could very well score him a knockout in this fight. But if I'm going to score it across 5 rounds, I think Khalil can get the damage done. There's going to be some knockdowns. There could be a stoppage in round 2 for either guy. But if I want a gun to my head, who am I picking? Khalil. I think I'm going to go with Khalil. I think I prefer Khalil in this. And plus it makes my boy Modestus Bukauskas look even better. So, you know, let's put a pin in that. Put a pin in that. Yeah, that's my prediction. I think knockout round 2. Khalil. Yeah. All right. Head on back. Let's clear this. Talk about the co-main event coming up. We got one more chat from George Murray. He says, Pyfer, Zalal, Rountree, Sandhagen. I think he meant to say Poatan. Wow, he's going with Sandhagen. Oh, mate. This next one. We're talking about Merab versus Cory Sandhagen. Oh, man. I mean, I got to go off recent runs as well on this. This is such a fun one to call. Man, is there any interesting stats here to really go off of? Significant strikes landed per minute in favour of Cory Sandhagen. Absorbed per minute leans on Sandhagen. Defense is even. Grappling, however, well, heavy in favour of Merab, who's just absolutely relentless with it. But there's a lot to talk about Cory Sandhagen's preparation for this fight. We'll start by talking about him, shall we? Cory has suggested that he's not afraid to engage the wrestling with Merab. Trevor Whitman has said they don't want to train to avoid Merab's takedowns like people have done in the past. They want to make him sweat by threatening takedowns of their own and use sweeps when on the ground. Do you guys think this is a smart move to make if you're Cory Sandhagen? Or are they trying to set something up, perhaps? Because what Cory Sandhagen has been saying is that he wants to go at Merab at full throttle and just make him think about everything that he's doing. Because he said, I think recently on Joe Rogan as well, that occasionally in fights that he's lost, he's been concentrating too much on what his opponent's strengths and what they can do to him, where he's going to go out there and just think about what he's good at and what he can do to win. But sometimes I think, is that just a little bit cliche? Because a lot of fighters kind of think that and say that leading into fights. But then once that cage door closes, it's a whole different ball game. And, you know, you got the element of timing as a thing. It's hard to train for someone of Merab's caliber, whether it be timing or whether it would be his wrestling ability. So, part of me still thinks that to beat Merab, you've got to knock him out with a flying knee. You've got to time something when he's level changing. And Cory Sandhagen has done that before. He knocked out Frankie Edgar by it. And heading into the O'Malley-Merab fight, I thought I could picture in the future the O'Malley just getting backed up towards the cage and then just doing a jumping knee to put Merab out. But maybe that image was blurred. It didn't have pink hair in it. It had the tall frame of Cory Sandhagen. To see the belt around Sandhagen's shoulder would be fantastic. But it's going to be very hard to pick him this weekend, in my opinion. Let's talk about Merab. Merab says that this fight will be 90% striking. Do you guys believe him on that? If he secures a takedown with 30 seconds left of the first round and submits Cory, then I guess that is 90% striking. Yeah, but part of me also thinks he's bluffing on this. I don't believe him, but he's got some good striking skills, and maybe perhaps he is finding fights easy on the ground, and maybe he wants to test his striking. I think that's the only time that we're going to see Merab lose and get knocked out. If he gets knocked out towards the end of the first round or into the second, and the whole fight's been contested on the feet, then everyone's going to be like, Merab, what are you doing? Why don't you just do what you're good at? But he's a stubborn fighter who wants to keep improving and keep sharpening his skills and improving himself. So, and Vince Morales told us a few weeks ago during the UFC Paris watch-along that Merab is still improving. He's finished Sean O'Malley via submission in that last fight. He went 5 rounds without... He went 5 fights without registering a single knockout or submission. But if he finishes Cory Sandhagen, who only one person has been able to do this so far, which was his teammate, Merab's teammate Aljamain Sterling, where does he rank amongst former bantamweights? Former bantamweight champions, sorry. Where does Merab rank? He's got to be well up there. A lot of people would argue and say that Dominic Cruz, still bantamweight GOAT. You know, he brought bantamweights over to the UFC, showed that unstoppableness. Injuries were a factor to him losing to Cody Garbrandt. Yes, okay, that excuse is there. But how long can we keep saying Dominic Cruz's name in the best bantamweight of all time category? It could be Merab after this fight. People could very well start talking about it even more so. I think it's possible, man. I do think so. Because other than that, who else in the division is going to give Merab his toughest test? Could run it back with Umar Nurmagomedov, give him another crack. Because in my opinion, Umar Nurmagomedov is the closest we've got in this division to beating Merab. What do you guys think? George Murray says, Merab, avoid tax as much he avoids finishes. I did see that today. I did see that. Apparently, Merab spent all of his win money and forgot to pay his taxes and had to pick up work at the building site again. That's funny. That's crazy that the champion of the world has to go back to being a labourer in order to pay his taxes. That's crazy. You'd have thought like the UFC would have helped him out or something. Just deduct it from his next pay. I don't. Yeah. You know, weird. Ayo, but you've got to do what you got to do. Let's talk about then. Let's move on to talk about the gauge for this fight. Bring the fighters up there. Striking wise, bring that one down. Striking wise, who are we going in favour of? I think the movement and the range that Cory has is going to be good. But then Merab's got some underrated distance management, I would say. Because even Sean O'Malley had a hard time, and Sean's counter striking is great. So it puts me on the fence. Where do you guys think this goes in favour of? It was from his first couple of fights. Okay, I thought it was recently, to be fair. I thought I saw something like at least a fight or two ago. Not bad. Yeah, I think so far I'm going to give Cory striking. Grappling, Merab without a question. Power, I'm going to go with Merab, actually. Power. I know there's going to be some people who disagree with me. It's a tough one, that one. It could be a tough one. Speed. Merab. Ooh. It's going to say. Cardio. Without question, Merab. I think that's what I'm going to leave it at. What do you guys think? We've got Merab for grappling, power, speed, and cardio. And Cory for striking. But look, you could easily say that Merab gets all of them. But who's going to get it on the night? Welcome on in. Burzger MMA, who's striking. Also Merab. He'll outstrike Cory. I had a look. I'm not going to argue with you, man. I think it's a fair opinion. Opinions matter most here on Against the Fence. Hit that subscribe button, buddy. Hit a like on the video. Good to see you in the chats. Yeah, I can't argue. I think it's a toss-up. It really is. But I'm going to go with Cory for striking. Yeah, for that, I'm afraid. But overall pick on the night, what are you guys going for? George Merry is going with Cory on this. Do you think Cory gets it done by a knockout? Part of me really wishes that Cory gets it done by a knockout, but I think Merab decision is inevitable. Or submission. Again, I wonder what the odds are for Merab submission since submitting Sean O'Malley. But be safe. Decision, I think. I want to see 5-round war as well in a way. But then if Cory promises to only be focused on what he's doing offensively, then is he going to push pace more on Merab? If so, I don't think that's a good idea, because Cory could win the first 2 rounds, but we know Merab's winning 3, 4, and 5. Do you know what I mean? Brazilian MMA says, no one has ever said my name correctly. Oh, bro, break it down for me. Break it down, I'm sorry. Borozga? I think Merab will finish after round 2. Don't know exactly when, though. Okay. Ooh, cheeky little 3rd round submission, perhaps, when fatigue gets in. I mean, the fact that Cory was able to survive Umar is quite... Well, for... Okay, he didn't get submitted by Umar, but the fact he was able to stuff Umar's takedowns for the first 2 rounds, I thought was quite impressive. So, but can he do the same with Merab, right? Who also gave Umar a tough time. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Cory might have some success. I'm wondering what sweeps he's going to bring on the ground. If his back does hit the mat, what sweep is he going to do to get Merab off and get back to his feet? He's got to elevate him somehow. Got to get those butterfly hooks. But look, Merab's just... He's relentless, man. He's not going to stop. Once you get back up, he's going to be on you straight away again. But it depends what Cory's been working, you know. I think working with Trevor Whitman is super smart. I think he brought Trevor Whitman into his camp for the Umar fight, which was obviously probably not a lot of time. He's spent more time now with Trevor Whitman. So I'm wondering what Cory we can see in this one against Merab. Like, imagine if we get ourselves another MMA triangle where Merab beats Umar, Umar beats Cory, and Cory beats Merab. That'd be fun. If it happens, I'll celebrate. Yeah, done pretty well. Borozga means unemployed. Oh, is it really? Oh man, dog. Come on, man. We got to get ourselves in the. You can do it, bro. You can get yourself a job if you've not got a job. Who you got for the main event? Good question. We're gonna get to it. We're gonna get right to it. In just a sec. Let's clear all this. Let's bring it on to then the main event, the anticipated rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira. Let's bring up then the striking numbers for you guys real quick. There we go. Landed per minute. Oof, man, significantly there for Pereira. Do you guys think it's going to look like a complete different fight to the last fight, or do you think it's going to be a carbon copy? Let's start by talking about Magomed Ankalaev then, because the jury is kind of out for him at the moment to make a big statement. Following Dean Thomas's comments, a second win against Alex Pereira in impressive fashion is a must for him. But what's your opinion on him as a fighter? Say he wins this fight by decision again, and it's a lackluster fight. Would you trade him to the PFL for Dakota Dacheva? He has 15 fights in the UFC, and he's won 6 of them by knockout. That's it. And like going back to what we were talking about earlier, the UFC brass and the fans really want to see finishes. They're pushing for it more than ever. They made a huge error bringing the new gloves in. Finishes were just down massively. They brought the old gloves back. We start to see more finishes. However, I just think at the moment there's such a larger thirst for it in the MMA fandom. I really do. And if for that reason, I would trade him. I would trade him because Dakota Dacheva, she would bring so much light into that women's flyweight division. She'd get a title fight instantly, right? Against whether it be Shevchenko or Weili Zhang. Imagine that. Like, she's got a pretty face. She's very marketable. She could go places. She could be a superstar like Ronda Rousey. She really could. Like, imagine if she just wins the title of a UFC debut as well. I mean, okay, PFL fighters typically haven't done well in their UFC debuts. Let's face it. Like what? They've got 1 win. So the odds are not great. But or do you think the UFC would give her a bit of a tune-up fight, perhaps, if they were to do it? On the flip side of this argument, what do the PFL gain in retrieving Magomed Ankalaev? Okay, he could probably fight Nemkov, one of these guys. Ooh, would they want him to fight at heavyweight to give Ngannou a challenger? That could work. Imagine that. That could actually be a huge fight for the PFL. Ngannou's got no contenders at the moment in this super fight division, super heavyweight belt, whatever it is, clown show that they're doing. Bring in Magomed Ankalaev. You can say you can't say he's a former UFC champion, but you can say he's a former world champion. People will recognize him. Would people want to see him get knocked out by Ngannou? But if you're the PFL, have you only got 1 fight for him, and that's Ngannou, who else are you going to give him? I don't know what you guys think. I think some interesting topic to talk about. Maybe, again, another reason to get Dean Thomas back on the channel. Brosgar says, I just want that woodpecker looking fuck to get slept out cold he is more defensively sound. Oh, damn. I mean, wow. Throwing some heat on Magomed Ankalaev, mate. I mean, look, I think we... probably didn't may love it. Poatan needs to knock the sense out of Magomed. Triangle choke, 4:49, round 5, called from George Murray. Mate, that would be a shameful blast from the past, wouldn't it? Yeah. Poatan really needs this win back, doesn't he? I mean, because if he doesn't, there's not really much else left for him. I mean, let's move on to talk about Alex Pereira. Because it's been said that Pereira went into that last fight against Ankalaev at 75% healthy. He didn't have many significant moments in it at all. Do you guys believe he has the hunger to get the belt back? Really? Because he's doing all of this stuff with Nina Drama, all this content, and this and that and the other. He's been there, done it in kickboxing, in the UFC. He's won 2 division belts. Or is this, is this just another fight for him? Because if he loses, then it's hard to see where he goes after that. He becomes a stepping stone for potential contenders. Does he want that? Is that hunger still going to be there? Is it worth sticking around? He doesn't really want to... He wants to kind of retire on top. Don't be this guy that just, becomes a stepping stone. I think if he wins, it's inevitable. He's going to fight Tom Aspinall. Because there'll be no one left for Aspinall once Aspinall beats Cyril Gane. That's right, I'm making it clear now. Aspinall's going to beat Cyril Gane. I think people are going to expect Aspinall to go out there and submit Gane in the opening round. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Tom's going to test his striking against Gane. And then he'll resort to it later on. Little take there for me. But yeah, future holds Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira once Pereira gets that belt back. And then, so say he knocks out Ankalaev. Then, he vacates the belt because the UFC, that's the rules now that they've done. They've done it for Makhachev. They've done it for Topuria. Then we get a Jiří or Khalil Rountree versus Ankalaev for the belt, for the vacant belt. That's what I'm going to throw in there. I mean, it'd be a shame to put Ankalaev in there, but it is what it is. George Murray said, I swapped Magomed for Alfie Davis now that they've only having one belt and not Bellator belts and the tournament belts at the same time, bring in the Londoner. Mate, I watched Alfie Davis years ago when he was in Cage Warriors, and I was very impressed by him. I wanted to see him in the UFC straight away. I just love the leg kick feints that he does. He's insane. I've not watched any of his fights for a long time, but yeah, he's 100% a worthy fighter to shove in the mix there, for sure. George Murray says, Ngannou is pissing me off. Every MMA and boxing promoter, I understand the stuff he's going through at the moment with his family, but just have a fight, bro. Yeah. I'm with you on that. Take out your aggression. Get yourself a fight booked. I mean, he clearly wants to box next, and I think he's having a hard time negotiating this Deontay Wilder boxing fight. That's where I think he's at the moment. Whether he returns to the PFL, I think he's probably got some kind of agreement with the PFL. And I think the PFL are bending over backwards for him and letting him do whatever he wants. I mean, which is crazy. I know there was a little bit, why they made the heavyweight fight? Isn't Ngannou the heavyweight champion? Blah, blah, blah. Apparently, Ngannou's PFL fight was some super heavyweight belt and wasn't for the actual heavyweight belt, which is ridiculous, really. What are you doing? The PFL is just a car crash at the moment. How can casual fans get into your product if you're just chucking in the tournaments and make-believe belts? It's bad enough with the UFC when they've got the BMF belt. That makes zero sense. But they're not going any further with that, thank God. Brosgar says, I think he has done some adjustments. Just hate this Nina stuff. Why is she in Potan's house? Just leave him alone for fight week. Do content after the fight. Hate to see her in the last week of fight. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. They kind of do way too much together, right? I've not seen her do anything with Sean Strickland for a while. I wonder why. To be fair, I barely watch her stuff. I just see whatever I see on social media. Brosgar says Dana should bring Francis back to UFC. Tom versus Francis would be good. Both of them don't have interesting opponents in their promotion. Yeah, do a two-way trade. Do Francis? I tell you what, I'd trade, mate. Sod it. Dakota Teixeira. I'd rather have Dakota Teixeira if I'm honest, but I'd trade Ankalaev for Ngannou. I mean, anyone would, but then I tell you what, here's 5 fighters I would trade for Francis Ngannou and Dakota Teixeira. You can have, PFL can have Magomed Ankalaev, Belal Muhammad, and I'm trying to think of someone else now. Help me out, guys. I need some inspiration. Who are we gonna? We need to chuck a third one in there for sure. They're not gonna want two they might want two light heavyweights. Chuck Dominic Reyes. Oh, it'll be hard, right? Come on, surely that would be hard. If I were the UFC, I'd be like, look, which fight are you struggling with most? Oh, no, here we go. Oh, but then he's still fairly entertaining. I was going to say Colby Covington, but I think people will really want to see him get sparked out by top competition. Can't be a welterweight. Who's the dead-ass lightweight? Benoit Saint-Denis on a win streak. Grant Dawson. No, I don't know. No. Do you do Grant Dawson? Dawson. All right, okay. I'm gonna just do this just to annoy Angus. Do a trade, right? UFC gives the PFL Magomed Ankalaev, Belal Muhammad, and Almir Abazi for Francis Ngannou and Dakota Teixeira. If they say no, up it to 5 fighters. Give them another 5 fighters in total. But for now, I'm sticking with 3. What do you guys think? Throw Ankalaev with 2 or 3 goats for Francis. Burns can go. Burns, yeah. Burns, this is selling season. We've got to make these trades. I genuinely think MMA is going to get to this point one day. I've always thought it. I was like, when are we going to get to a point where promotions start buying fighters? It's going to come. Or just straight up trades. I mean, we've had one trade ever. Right? What else? Who else? It's got to be like someone who's got a contract. So they could have traded Paul Craig. Like, I'm no, Mosfar Evelev. Done. Let's rephrase this. Right, so if I'm the UFC, I'm trading Magomed Ankalaev, Belal Muhammad, Mosfar Evelev, and Almir Albazi for Francis Ngannou and Dakota Teixeira. I think that's a fair trade. That's a fair trade. There's people, they're all in different divisions, but still, I think that helps the PFL. I think it's a fair shout. Dana, you're welcome. Hit me up, brother. You're welcome. I'll have 10% of the revenue for all of those fighters. Enough said. Done now. All right, cool. We've had some fun for that. That was some fun discussing that. All right, let's take us back then, guys. Actually, no, we've not wrapped up. I forgot we've not done the gauge yet for this fight. Wow, I was getting too carried away there into this trade deal. Striking wise, who are we going to give it for this time? Because Magomed did outstrike Pereira that last fight. So, like, you'll go off of last performances, which is a shame. And then also the grappling. Power is pretty obvious. Alex Pereira gets that one. Speed. Pereira. Don't care. Cardio. Cardio is a difficult one. Pereira manages his cardio pretty well. And I don't know who looked the slowest in that 5th round. I can't actually remember. Ooh, interesting. Rosegar says striking was Ankalaev. Yeah, I think we have to give him that. Grappling was 0-0 for both of them. Yeah. It was in that last fight, but I think overall, it's clearly Ankalaev, isn't it? Speed Ankalaev, he reckons. Power Pereira is the obvious one. Cardio. This is neck and neck here. Cardio. It could all come down to cardio, guys. I guess he was fast. Yeah. Fair shout. Fair. No, I can see that. Which does just. But this is this gonna be Pereira 100%? That's a question. Because cardio wise, I don't know. Yeah, Ankalaev cardio to only give Pereira power. I mean, that could just cut what it comes down to at the end of the day, really, isn't it? If you're basing things off of the last fight, which is only fair, then this is pretty spot on. I have a good take. Top 5 fighters except heavy don't gas out if they are not facing Merab. Ooh. Top 5 fighters except heavy don't gas out if they're not facing Merab. You reckon? Oh, I don't know. That's a wild take. That's a wild take, bro. Is that just in across all divisions? Light heavyweight, middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, featherweight. Top 5 fighters don't gas out. I can see that. I can kind of see it. I'm just trying to think now, like, everyone in the top 5 is just absolute stud. Yeah. That's true. Because, I mean, like, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, really, doesn't it? About Joe Pyfer and what his ceiling is in the middleweight division. Because he needs to be more than just a knockout artist. Because usually guys that are just one-dimensional don't get that far. They don't enter the top 5. Cardio is a big factor for sure, especially going across 5 rounds. Just to think top 5 fighters across other divisions, yeah. Yeah. No, I like that take. Man. Respect to Rosegar for that one. Hit the like on the video as well for it. But yeah, overall on the night, my prediction, I hope Pereira wins by knockout. Please, within at least either round 2 or 3. Let's get that belt back. Let's look on to huge fights in the future. Aspinall, Pereira, White House, whatever it is. I mean, it's probably not going to be. It's going to be Conor McGregor against an American at the White House card. But look, I think it opens up for 2026 to be absolutely insane of a year for MMA if Pereira wins. and Makhachev wins the welterweight belt. Maybe. We pray this Sunday for knockout. We absolutely do, mate. Pray to the MMA gods, guys. Pray to the MMA gods. That's it. I'm going to wrap that up there. Let's head back to this screen. Let's pray to the MMA gods that Alex Pereira gets it done via knockout. And then we will recap on next Tuesday in the Aftermath show, where we'll talk about what's next for the winners and losers from this weekend's main card, as well as all the gossip to come out of fight day / day after the fight. So make sure you guys have got the notifications bell rang on our channel. That's what's coming on Tuesday. But of course, this weekend, the most important one, join us for a live watch along from the usual time of 10 a.m. UK time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, and 7 p.m. Pacific time. Check your local listings. It'll be for the main card watch along only. We want to hear your opinions in the chats. Engage with us throughout the card. We'll score it round by round as we go along. We've got more in-depth breakdown as well, just before the fights start. So yeah, there's a lot to go through. Don't miss it. JK, forget about 320. What's the plan for 320? We're still working on that. There's a guy who might be hosting us. We need to do a bit of a recce for his apartment or flat, wherever it is, or house. Assign needs to organise that, just so then we can know where people are going to go, where they're going to sit, how we're going to set up and stuff, and then hopefully we will. Yeah, there's a lot of planning involved for that, for sure. 3-2-1 will be a huge watch along, so yeah, guys, make sure you stay tuned for that one. First fight was close. Ankalaev is a good pick, but while people are counting out Pereira, I've seen no one pick Pereira. Some UFC fighters did, but no one from YouTube. Interesting. You mean 3 a.m., not 10? Yeah, you're right. 10 p.m. Pacific time. You're right, yeah. 3-2-1 is kind of shit compared to 3-2-0 and 3-2-2, says Rosegar MMA. But 3-2-1, though, I do admit, but 3-2-1 is a nice early card, and we're going to try and pull out all the stops for a mega watch-along from prelims to main card with some special guests and a spinning wheel, which basically encourages to drink. So that'd be great. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that one. But yeah, this weekend, 3:20 watch along, usual times, and then the Aftermath show next week as well. So make sure you stay tuned in for that. All right. Hit notifications bell, hit the like button before you sign off, and I'll see you very soon. Ciao for now, guys. Bye-bye.